and make me co-host.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. I am your host, George Miller. I'm here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m., almost every Wednesday, from noon to 1 p.m. And I invite you to ask any questions career related. So you can type your questions into the comment section if you are watching on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube, or you can jump in directly here on Zoom. And I welcome you to come on video, come off mute, and you can engage with me that way as well. So I am here most Wednesdays, and the thing I like to do is to take questions about your careers and to help you look at your career maybe in a from a different angle, to approach your career as a way for you to develop as a human. So what about what you're doing at work do you want to develop? What areas are important for you to grow in? What's the kind of impact that you want to make? And that helps a lot. That change in thinking about myself in my workplace helps me take more ownership, helps me get more enjoyment out of what I'm doing, etc. So I love taking questions. You can ask anything. Uh, Talk about your resume, your interview process, and ask questions about management. If you've got a team and you're wanting them to be more productive or figure out how to communicate with your team more effectively, that is on the table. Or if you are struggling with communicating to your manager or boss, anything career related is welcome. I invite you to ask your questions, and you can do that by jumping in here directly on Zoom, or you can type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to get to your questions. So, I'll talk for a little bit about our topic today of emotional intelligence and how that plays out in the workplace. So we've got how your EQ matters most. But what does that mean? EQ is short for emotional intelligence. You think of it like emotional quotient. And what we have found over the past 40 years is that learning technical skills is necessary. We actually have a great, the United States is really good at educating in technical skills. We have a lot of programs for that. That's a wonderful thing. And at a certain point, technical skills don't cut it, because when things get very complex, we have breakdowns in communication. The more complex stuff gets, the better communicators we need to be. And so emotional intelligence is at the heart of communicating well. We're all different people. We all have a different worldview. Alfred Adler, one of my favorites, he talked about private logic, that each person has a unique way that they understand themselves and that they understand the world, what the world expects of them and what they expect of the world. That is different for every single person. And we very often jump to conclusions and make assumptions about what we think other people are thinking. And one of the main reasons we do that is as a way to avoid our feelings. One of the main reasons I make assumptions about other people is because I don't want to feel uncomfortable, because I don't want to be with the discomfort of how different somebody might be from me. I don't want to be with the discomfort of needing to open up to other possibilities. So there's nothing wrong with being I want to say that closed-minded, if I have a habit of being kind of closed-minded about stuff, it's not a sin. It's not morally wrong, but it is limited. And it can be helpful for me to understand that one of the main reasons I'm holding on to a limited viewpoint is to avoid my own discomfort. That's it. It has nothing to do, may have nothing to do with the other person. And this is across the board, for everybody. This could be between enemies, friends, family, everyone. So emotional intelligence is my ability to be present with what I'm feeling while interacting with other people. How much can I be aware of my core feelings? And as I'm talking about this, I'm hoping that you're starting to think about how this applies for you. So, yes, you may need to go get a new certificate in programming. That's quite possible. And yet, it's going to take relationships and you interviewing to get the job that you want. It's going to take you deepening your relationships at your current role to advance. So I'm not saying to throw out the technical advancement, I'm saying it's both. So we all need to deepen our emotional intelligence, our ability to be present with our feelings in the here and now, and that will increase our social intelligence. And so then everything that I'm learning, all the new programming I'm learning, the new technical skills that I get, I will be better able to work with a team. I will be able to educate others more on how to use technology, or I will be better at helping somebody understand how that's integrated. So we are social creatures. We all feel fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy pretty much all the time while we're interacting with people. So that is why I say that emotional intelligence matters most. In your career, your EQ is going to determine your satisfaction as well as how far you advance. It will impact how much of an impact you have in the world. All right, so that's the outline of the topic today, but I want to reiterate for anybody who's just joining in, you're welcome to come off mute, or you can type your questions into the chat. If you're on YouTube or LinkedIn Live, go ahead and type your questions into the comment section, and those will get passed over to me, and I will do my best to answer your questions that way. You can update me when I'm on track and redirect me when I'm off track. So is there anything that's on your heart? Anything that you are wanting support with in your career? Again, there's no question too small, no question too big. It'll be anything like, I have never really liked my job, or I've had a career that I'm proud of and I'm starting to think, should I retire, open my own business, go for the next role, try to become partner, anything that you have on your horizon in your career is fair game. I invite any questions that you have. You can type your questions into the chat, or you can type your questions into the comment section on YouTube or LinkedIn Live. And if you want to remain anonymous, that's totally fine. I will just look at your questions. So let me know, how can I serve you today? As I said, I will probably tie it back to emotional intelligence because that's my expertise, but anything can be on the table. So with emotional intelligence, part of what this means is that as you advance in your career, you're going to always have more challenges. Anytime I learn something new, it's going to take me making mistakes. And so my ability to be present with and make sense of the feelings I'm having, that's going to help me discern better. So all of us, I was going to say most of us, and I'll say most of us, but I'm pretty sure it's all of us. As we became adults, we all learned to manage our feelings in ways that suppresses our power, suppresses our ability to influence the thoughts, feelings, and actions of others. And it's just part of what happens as we're growing up. And so we end up suppressing our feelings instead of integrating them into how we communicate in an effective way. So it can be really helpful to think about a challenging situation at work. Let's say that this is one of my favorite challenges, is when you've been at a place for a while, you've been at the same company for a while, and you're being promoted. So you have all these relationships with your peers, and now some people are going to start reporting to you. So there's a change in the relationship. So in this environment, when this is happening for you, paying attention to your feelings is so critical, because there will likely be times where somebody will communicate, probably unconsciously, but they may do something to try to be chummy with you. Chummy, I think that's a word. And and they might be not wanting to take on more of the responsibility that's their job. And they may even have some unconscious resentments towards you for you advancing and not them. And so that's a pretty common thing. And on one level, we all like to think that, oh, we're grown up, that kind of thing doesn't happen. And yet, the unconscious mind is quite powerful. And if I'm unwilling to look at some of the things that I aren't so flattering about myself, then it's easy for that unconscious stuff to run amok if I'm unwilling to look at it. And most of us are pretty unwilling to look at it. So again, if I'm in a position where I am now going to be managing, if I'm going to have people reporting to me that used to be peers with me, learning to take a step back and not look to the people reporting to me for affirmation is a big part of this. Because I'm used to getting affirmation in all kinds of ways. And for me to understand now that, okay, that it may work against me to be trying to get their affirmation. I don't, at this point now, my job is to not have them like me. The job is for them to respect me. And there can even be some sadness there. And yeah, I am grieving the loss of the kind of relationship that I had before. And so to acknowledge that to myself, even if you're not acknowledging it to your teams or the people that are now reporting to you, but for you to recognize that you are grieving the loss of relationships that you used to have. You're going to still have relationships with those people, but the nature of the relationship is going to change. And it's important to allow yourself to mourn that loss and to let yourself feel sad about it. Totally, totally cool. Makes sense. So sadness, when we let ourselves feel sad about something, then our system, my body, opens up to more possibilities. If I'm trying not to feel sad, then I am suppressing my potential. I am putting boundaries on myself. And so I want to express sadness. I want to be able to feel the sadness when I lose something because it opens me up to possibilities Again, if I am trying to avoid feeling sad, I am limiting myself from what's available to me. So, life is always changing, and if I'm trying to hold on to something that's gone, then I won't be able to grab onto something new that's coming in. So, sadness is quite effective to feel, to have my system process stuff. So, that's one way we can sort that emotion out. Then we might have anger. If I was friends with somebody or we were peers and now they're reporting to me, and I might notice that I feel irritated, it's like, wait, there was clear instructions. I think it's pretty obvious what your job is, but now you're kind of communicating to me in a way that's having me feel more anxiety, and I'm having to kind of think through, wait, what's my role? And I'm noticing I'm starting to kind of feel resentful. I'm feeling angry about that. That can be very helpful to recognize. Yeah. Anger, the function of anger is to move away from pain and towards pleasure. So in a relationship like that, like, okay, how do I move? This is now becoming painful. What do I need to do to move towards pleasure in this relationship? It may be something like a very clear communication of, what, let's say the person's name is Jim that is reporting to me. And you know what, Jim, I need you to handle this, this, and this. And if you have questions about it, I want you to come in with, what you've already worked through and tell me what your thoughts are about it. And if you have questions like who do I need to see or whatever, but bring that to me. But I expect you to do a lot of thinking on this before asking me some of these questions. It's a clear communication, and then now we start to get into some of the other feelings. You might feel some fear if you are communicating in a more direct way with somebody who you didn't before. And you might be afraid that their feelings are going to be hurt. And you might be afraid that your feelings are going to be hurt because they might not listen to you, and that will hurt. But that is a meaningful risk to take. That is a worthwhile fear for you to engage. So fears keep us safe. Fears alert us to danger. So when I'm communicating with people, I want to be paying attention to what I'm feeling. And if I'm feeling fear, is that a fear that is, I'm afraid of saying something that's going to have me becoming the next person who I could become? I haven't always communicated this way. I'm taking on more responsibility. I'm being more of an authority, and I'm uncomfortable with that. And I feel afraid that somebody might reject me. That could happen. Or am I afraid that I'm not communicating what I need to communicate clear enough, and that I'm kind of out of line, and that, this is just going to mess things up more? Those are two different kinds of fears. One of them, I can choose to say, you know what, this is a valuable thing for me to do. I am going to take this risk in this relationship, and I'll be a little uncomfortable with it. So what? I get it, and this is part of me becoming who I can be. And then another one of, I should pay attention to this fear, and I should think through how I'm going to communicate what I need to communicate so that it goes well, so that I get the results that I want. Now, you got to be a little aware of yourself, especially if you're an analyzer, where you might try to overthink stuff. And sometimes you just got to take the risk and go for it and, say, hey, I'm communicating in kind of a new way. This might be a little messy. I might make some mistakes, but I need to just, we've got an agenda. We need to get through this. So I'm going to be communicating kind of rapid fire, and I need you to get on the same page with me. And so there's ways that you can pay attention to the fear that you would be experiencing and to verbalize it in rapport. while keeping yourself moving. Okay. I hope that's a helpful breakdown of how you would use being conscious, present in the here and now with your feelings while you're communicating as you are moving into a new role in your company. You want to learn this skill. Again, to jump back to what I was saying at the beginning of this, you can always learn new technology. You can always be learning new skill sets. Totally. Tapping your emotions, learning how to communicate what you're feeling more effectively, this is the big game changer. Because whatever technical skills you have, this is underneath all of that and will help you apply those technical skills more effectively. All right, well, we're coming up on a half an hour into this today. So I'm going to do a quick room reset and invite people to jump in and ask any questions that you have. I invite you to ask any questions that you have about your career, anything from your resume to interviewing to managing to your purpose in your career to retiring. How do you want to retire? Anything like that. Any questions that you have career related, I invite here. If you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, how to network online, anything like that, you can type your questions into the comment section, or you can come off mute and just speak with me directly. All right. Let me know. Let me know what questions you have, and I'll share a little bit about a tool that I use when communicating with people. I'm often trying to find out what type of personality somebody is. So I'm just taking a look here at YouTube and seeing what's happening. And I'm thinking about shifting to, you know, to another topic and doing a little rant on this for a moment. I'm going to fly with the times here. So since Monday morning, I have been thinking about Hurricane Milton a lot. I did not, it was not even on my radar at all. My parents went on a trip down to Florida to visit my aunt, and actually there was a sibling reunion that they went down to. So they're all meeting in Florida. And I remember kind of in the back of my head, I was like, isn't there maybe a hurricane going on there or something? You know, but yeah, that was about it. So then Monday morning, I'm on my way to the eye doctor to get a new contact prescription and glasses. And I see my sister in Seattle is calling me, or not Seattle, but in Washington State. I see that my sister is calling me, and I'm like, it's kind of early for her. What's going on? So I pick up, and she expresses concern about the hurricane and the fact that our parents are in Florida. So in that moment, I had a whole flood of feelings. You know, I felt afraid, number one. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I even felt some mild irritation because I'm like, wait, why is this? This isn't part of my day today. So I'm angry because this is messing with my routine. It's changing what I thought I was doing. And probably felt some hurt, but at that moment I was totally unconscious to that. But I did feel fear and I felt anger. And then I also felt some anger because I was like, I think my parents are probably in a space where they're like, yeah, we've been in all kinds of storms and, we know what to do and we can handle stuff. And so I felt a little bit of anger there. And I was like, I'm going to call them right now and I'm going to express what I'm feeling and thinking with them. And so I did. And that right there was a way that in the past there would have been a time where I wouldn't have taken any action. And now, because I am more in touch with my feelings and I'm able to quickly assess, oh, I'm feeling hurt, angry, scared about this right now. Okay, what are these feelings telling me to do? Okay, take action on it, move forward with it. Instead of like, hmm, should I call? What should I do? And spending a whole lot of time kind of thinking about it. Instead, I moved into taking action. And then in my phone call, I expressed more clearly than I would have in the past. So I come from a family that is very nice. We're so, so nice. Um, it's like we valued not hurting other people's feelings, not upsetting things, not kind of um, taking meaningful risks interpersonally. We wanted to play it safe a lot of the time, especially in one-to-one interactions. And so, me expressing concern about this approaching hurricane and my parents down there, I could have been super nice about it. And what I did instead was I let my parents know my feelings. And I said, well, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't know that you know what you're getting yourself into. And then I said, okay, well, do you want, think about if you are okay with losing your car, because they drove down there, you might take shelter and then not be able to leave for a week, 2 weeks. That might you might be looking at a best case scenario there. Worst case scenario is you're dead. And so that was how I chose to speak to my parents. In the past, I would not have done that. And so I'm sharing this right now because the hurricane's on my mind. I'm thinking about the feelings that I was having while I'm communicating to my parents in ways that I didn't used to do, you know? So it's like, look, mom, dad, here's what I'm afraid about, and I'm going to tell you these concerns. I'm going to have a little bit of aggression in how I'm telling you this because I want you to wake up. I want you to be alert. I am scared and I'm angry. I would be angry at you if you don't take good care of yourself. I don't want to fly down there right now and drag you out of there. So, and then this moves into a text thread in with my siblings. So now we're all texting about this. And my other sister then goes ahead and books a hotel and an Airbnb out of state and then calls them and says, okay, these places are booked. It's time for you to go. So right there, instead of a historical way that we would have done this in my family, we would have been in so much drama about it and been like, oh, no, well, mom and dad do they really understand how dangerous it might be? I don't know. What do we can't get them to, yeah, no. That is how we used to deal with stuff. We used to run around in a lot of circles. And it was so cool that in this scenario, we look at the warnings coming in and we say, no, you're going to go to this place, you're going to get out of there now, and you're going to do it sooner than later so you don't have to deal with as much traffic. And that is going to make all of us feel better. There you go do it. So I hope that this story about how as as an individual and as as part of a unit in a family system of how we used our feelings differently than we would have. Now, see, a lot of you listening, and probably that's just how you would communicate. You'd be like, "Mom, Dad, go do this. This is how it's going to be," and maybe that like works, But what I'm saying is that this is new behavior for our family system. We did not always communicate as directly. We would avoid feeling whatever feelings of anxiety we would be having. And we didn't want to confront that in interacting with each other. And so we would let a lot of things slide. And it wasn't always the greatest. And it was quite ineffective sometimes and inefficient. So, what I'm wanting you to get is that as you pay attention to your core feelings, fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy, you will inevitably take more responsible action quicker. Because part of what you are avoiding in taking action is your feelings. You don't want to feel the discomfort of making choices, of discerning. You don't want to deal with the feelings that arise in that. And in a lot of ways, it's just too bad. It's part of life. It's part of being a human, is that we have to make decisions. Even not making a decision is making a decision. So if I can do this hack where I am training myself to embrace my core feelings, fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy, and I'm like a mantra for me. I'm checking in with what am I feeling now? What is this feeling? And naming it. And then I'm learning to soothe and integrate those feelings. And now I don't have to resist feeling what I am experiencing. When I don't have to resist that, the possibilities open up in all kinds of ways. I can recognize that I feel afraid to speak up in a meeting, or recognize that I feel afraid to be direct with my parents. I can recognize that I feel afraid of saying what I want from my parents. But the fear doesn't have to stop me. I don't have to mind fuck because I'm trying to avoid fear. I can just let myself feel the fear and say, yeah, I've got it. I'm communicating in a new way that I have before, and that's fine. I can do it. So, for everybody listening in, I hope that's a helpful story. I think I will be closing up a little early today. Unless anybody who is viewing on YouTube or on LinkedIn, if you have any questions, type them into the comment section. I'd love to do my best to answer them and to work with you in that direction. If you don't have any questions, or if you want to meet one-to-one, you can always sign up for a 15-20 minute call with me. That's on my website. You can book a call with me. I will talk to you, help you assess where you're at in your career. And oftentimes people make progress in that quick meeting with me, and they get more grounded with what's important to them, and they can focus on that and go forward and get some good momentum. And other times it's a bigger project and we can talk about a coaching relationship. So that's one way that you can engage directly with me. Another thing you can do is jump on to my YouTube channel, subscribe. You'll see content that's being uploaded there. I'm talking about emotional intelligence and how that applies to your career, as well as sharing stuff about ice water. I find that ice water is kind of the perfect visual representation of what I do in coaching, which is going to your edge, being with the discomfort, and getting a lot of value from it. So you can follow me on Instagram. That is a place where I'm posting these ice water videos and inviting to in-person breath work that I'm doing and going into Lake Michigan. So for everybody in Chicago, I invite you to join me when I am doing breath work at the beach and going in. The water is not too cold right now, but it's getting there. It has dropped significantly in the last week, so now is a good time for you to start going in. All right. Well, if I don't see any questions coming in, I'm gonna close up a little early today, and I will be back next week. I will be with you for Career Lab Wednesday, where I'm talking about emotional intelligence and how that applies to your development in your career. Okay, everybody. Blessings. Take care. Prayers for Florida. Thinking of everybody there, and there's a part of me that is like, man, if I could go down there and just see it, just be with that kind of a storm, my goodness, that would be amazing. And then another part of me that's like, yeah, that could also be really dangerous. And obviously, I'm not going to go down there. But for anybody who's staying there, make sure that you are taking all the precautions that you need to take. And for people who are hearing that you need to evacuate, sounds like evacuating is a good idea. It sounds like it's a strange storm heading that way. All right, everybody. Blessings. Take care. I'll see you next week.